Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Honor to the sublime one, the worthy one, the fully enlightened one. So, I think I know everybody here. We have a very small gathering today, which is good. Because when we have small gatherings, I like to do questions and answers and have a little discussion. Lena, have you been to one of my events before here at the Buddha Center? I thought so. I'm not too good with names, but if I've seen names enough, I know. Okay, so everybody knows I don't need to bother with an introduction. But, so normally here what we do in this Dhamma talk is I usually, I'm breaking up my voice, you mean? Or I'm coming in clear? Let me do a restart. How about now? Any better? Loud and clear? Choppy still? Okay, I figure that's usually what happens. Usually I have to reset before each time. So, like I was saying, every time that we have a small group, I like to do just open the floor up for any questions regarding pretty much anything to do with Buddhism. So, it's which works out because normally when I do my walking meditations in the mornings, I have a topic that comes to me, and just like recently, I haven't had much in the way of topics, so I think it's because I've probably spoken about everything that I can speak about, and it's not worth repeating myself if it's been a short period. So, does anybody have any questions? Anything to do with Buddhism? I can't guarantee an answer, but I can spout on for a little bit, or at least try to lead you in the right direction. Nothing at all. Interesting. That's like that's sort of like how when you go to a monastery and you listen to the talk after. A lot of times nobody has any questions, but then when you can talk to the monk afterwards, everybody has all kinds of questions, right? So, yes, that's the way it works. So I guess I can talk about one of my favorite topics that everybody gets a kick out of one way or another, and that is every time that there's something like what happened recently, I talk about the realities of life. And obviously, I'm talking about what happened yesterday in Boston with the bombings and such. So, if you're on Facebook, or if you have just a group of friends, or if you watch the news and you see people's reactions to something like this that happened. There was, I believe, 2 or 3 people that died. I think it might be 3. There's many who lost limbs because it seems like the attack was very similar to what they would call IEDs over in the Middle East and Afghanistan. So there's a lot of things that can be discussed from the Buddhist perspective regarding a situation like this. But the way it works is it actually all connects together. Now there's the topic of revenge or we're gonna get the bastards who did this, and we're gonna make them pay. And there's the topic of what is it? I've heard many people say this. What's wrong? What's going on? What's this world come to that this stuff happens? And it's actually, if you study world history and you are pretty aware of what's going on in the world, stuff like this is happening all over the world every day of the year. However, when you're in a country that thankfully doesn't have to deal with this kind of stuff very often, it's something that you don't often think about in your daily life. But what the Buddha taught was that the Buddha taught to be aware of death. The Buddha taught to practice meditation on death. Know that you can die at any time. So when you come to this practice and you realize, yes, I don't have to be killed by a terrorist attack. I can be ran over. I can be in a plane and the plane goes down. So that's another part of this that we can talk about, fear, right? So we got fear, revenge, what happens in the world. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different ways you can go about talking about this. So let's start with, how does this stuff happen in the world? The Buddha had a very simple answer. Actually, it's a very simple answer for pretty much anything that goes that has to deal with suffering or dissatisfaction in the world. The reason being is because of, the main reason is because of ignorance. The reason is because all human beings have the three roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Or put to their roots, the roots of the roots, aversion, attachment, attachment, aversion, and ignorance. It is because of our ignorance, and in Buddhism when we talk ignorance, we're talking about not knowing the Four Noble Truths. It has nothing to do with not being book smart enough or educated enough or having diplomas. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with experiential knowledge. So, knowing the Four Noble Truths, you know their nature of reality, and you are more inclined. The more you know, the more you understand the way things work, the more inclined you are to doing only skillful actions, which are beneficial to yourself and others. So, in a world, and actually many worlds, many planes of existence, the Buddha talked about the world systems. So don't just think that it's us humans here who are stuck and mired in our dukkha, in our suffering and dissatisfaction. There are many places, many beings who are mired in this greed, hatred, and delusion. As a matter of fact, it's what makes, instead of the term what makes the world go around, it's what makes samsara go around. Because of this greed, hatred, and delusion, we have desires. We want things. We want to run away from things. We have delusions of what is true, what is right. And we attach to these things. We attach to an ego. And this helps to create these problems in the world. And now this is something that can never end, per se. At least not until all beings are enlightened. This is how the world has always been, and all the world systems. And this is how it will be long after we're dead and reborn. There is not a day that has gone by on this planet where humans, in one form or another, for one reason or another, were not involved in conflict. And we look at that, we go, that can seem very depressing, right? Because we want to believe in the ability for world peace, or the ability to make sure that everybody is safe, stop the wars, stop the terrorism. But it just is out of our ability to do something like that. What we can do is change our own mind, and what we can do is live a skillful life, which is beneficial to yourself and others, and affect change around you. That's all you can do. You can't change the world, but you can change yourself, and you can help others around you. So then, the first time I heard this term, this phrase, it really changed a lot for me, because I was an idealist in the past. I was someone who fought for justice. I had a strong sense of what was right and wrong, and what is just, and how things should be. And of course, having this strong ego causes dukkha, because you can never ask, as Ajahn Brahm says, you can never, don't ask from the world what it can never give you, because that is suffering. And I did. I asked from the world what it can never give me. I tried to help change the world, or at least my own countrymen. And you come to realize that you can only change yourself. Others have to change on their own. And going back to the phrase that I heard, that changed everything for me was, the Buddha did not change the world. He made peace with the conditions in it. So, how do we make peace with the world where there is suffering, where there is death, where there is injustice? How do we make peace with the world like that? It's hard, because our ego says that we want to change something, we need to change something, we can change something. But in reality, reality shows that it is near impossible to change something permanently, because all things are impermanent. Even when something changes for the better, a revolution happens and a good government is put in. After some years, the government changes again. There's nothing that lasts forever, right? That's what we're talking. That's one of the main tenets of Buddhism: impermanence. All compound things have three characteristics. They are impermanent, they have dukkha, or unsatisfactoriness / suffering, and they are not self. Now, we're not going to go too much into the not self part of that, but yes, all things that are created, all things that are created through causes and conditions out of the elements. So basically everything. In the suttas they talk about the the nibbana or nirvana as the uncreated. So the only thing that is not compound, the only thing that is not created through causes and conditions is nirvana. That's it. So it really, for all intents and purposes, everything that you see, everything that you know, is compound. It is created with elements through causes and conditions that led to its creation. So going back to letting go, and because that's really what it's all about, right? We think about how can we let go? How can we? I saw a post on Facebook recently, and it says, I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a lot of these things now, keep calm and carry on, which goes back to World War II from England. Now they have all kinds of things. Keep calm. I've made one, keep calm and meditate. But there's one that says now, how can you keep calm with all the suffering in the world? And as a Buddhist, I was like, ding, 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 ding. Oh, I have to respond to this. because this is because this is right up my alley. This is going right to the deepest part of what the Buddha taught. Because there's a difference between ignoring and accepting and letting go. I know that there is much suffering in the world. As a matter of fact, I know more than most people who are stuck in their daily lives how much suffering is going on in the world, when and where. However, when there's a news article or there's a new news incident, there's somebody died here, somebody died there, this happened, this bombing happened, another drone attack killed 20 kids at a wedding in Afghanistan, or all these things. People don't quite understand why I don't have these emotional movements. And they mistake it for that I don't care, or that I am insensitive. But it's not that. As you practice, you come to realize that this is part of the greater system of how things work. And that all beings, and this is why we practice metta, right? All beings are going through life, and if you choose to believe or you feel that it is true, they go through multiple lives. Suffering, or going through what the Buddha taught 5 remembrances. And these are 5 things that we should always remember, because they are life. They are inescapable. The 5 things are: I am subject to illness, have not gone beyond illness. I am subject to old age, have not gone beyond old age. I am subject to death, have not gone beyond death. All that is dear and pleasing to me, I will one day be separated from. And all that is dear and pleasing to me includes people, pets, and items. All things that I have an attachment to, I will one day be separated from. And the 5th one is, I am the heir to my actions, owner of my actions, and have my actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, skillful or unskillful, or in other words, use good and evil. I don't like to use good and evil in Buddhism because it doesn't fit. That's a whole other topic. To that I shall fall heir. So these are 5 things that if you remember these things every day, whatever happens is, yeah, that's life, you know. It's not that you don't feel sad when people are killed in this manner or any manner, but what you realize is that many beings, all beings in fact, because we're all connected by this, that we are all born, grow sick, grow old, and die. All beings, regardless of how we die, when we die, it doesn't matter. We're all going to die. We are all, well, not all of us are going to grow old. Some of us will die young. This is just the nature of how life is. As a matter of fact, I believe one of the people who died was an 8-year-old child, correct? And not just 5 months ago, we had the incident at the, an 8-year-old, yes. We had the incident at the school, which really, I mean, people have and I had a talk about that too when this happened. The incident in Connecticut where it was 30 children died, something like that. As a matter of fact, that's probably the last time I spoke about this, 26. And that's on my YouTube channel recorded. So, yeah, and we think, how can this happen? What? And we want to think about, our mind automatically goes to, why did this happen? Or who did it? Who's to blame? Because we always have to have a victim. We always have to have somebody did it. Even if nobody did it. I mean, obviously in a case like this, somebody killed these children. So that is, but there's many aspects in life where nobody did it. Cancer. A freak accident. And that's a hard one because we can't, it's easy for us to put blame on somebody, right? Because if somebody does it, we can put our blame, we can feel like we can get some kind of justice out of punishing that person. But in the end, it doesn't bring the people back, does it, by punishing this person? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help us, although we think it does. So, going back a little bit, when these beings die, and we all die, this is, yes, very good, Momoka, I like that. Yes. Now I lost my train of thought, but a very good comment, and very well put. It feeds our fear, and that is, what are our fears, right? And this is, I said in the beginning, fear is a part of this. So we can go to fear. That's a good segue into fear. Fear. What is fear? I like the way Ajahn Brahm, his definition of fear, because I think it makes the most sense. Fear is simply looking to the future and adding negativity. Because fear, in all reality, doesn't exist in the present moment, does it? Fear is something that is a product of the future, of thinking about the future. So when an incident like what happened 4 months ago happens, right? Fear. This could be my child, or this could be me. I could be running at a marathon, which I do, by the way. I haven't done a half marathon yet, but I do running events. So I could be running, and then I could die. And then what happens? No, but so the fear creeps in. There's not many there's not many fears greater than the fear of death. I don't know if they say, I think the number one fear is public speaking. Which is kind of funny compared to the fear of dying. But yeah, a fear that I've never really had, public speaking. I think it's because if I make a mistake, I can laugh at myself and have fun with it. I think that's the main thing, right? But anyway, so fear. When we have fear is part of control. And when we have this fear, we want to somehow control reality to assuage our fears, to make sure that what we fear won't happen. And so the last 4 or 5 months, we have to have things that are the cause, things that are to blame. After the shootings in Connecticut, what were the things that were to blame? Guns, video games, that dang rap music. No, rap music hasn't been yelled at recently, but yeah. So guns, video games, they are corrupting our children. Guns are evil things, and they walk around by themselves killing people. So we have to have these scapegoats. We have to have this. This is the reason, because if there's no reason, our mind can't grasp that it's just a senseless thing that just happened. So we have to feel like we have to have a reason, because it's all part of that control. We have to understand this reason because we fear what we don't understand. And so we're grasping at these things that we feel will fix the problem. But in reality, they never do. We think that they will, but they never fix the problem, because the problem is multifaceted and extremely deep. Sort of like the Buddhist concept of cause and effect. In Buddhism, the cause and effect is not a linear one-to-one. In Buddhism, it's a huge web. There are so many causes for each effect that we can never know all of the causes. It's a huge web of everything that comes together. And often we hear the term a perfect storm, right? It's a perfect storm of causes that led to this effect. But we feel like we need to do something to fix this so that it never happens again. But history and human nature tells us that it always will, because it always has. This is not the first time a school and children were killed, or that bombs went off in a public place, and it certainly will not be the last. So what can we do? What can we do to deal with this fear? What can we do to deal with what's going on the planet? Keep calm and go nuts. I like that. What can we do? Well, my answer is pretty easy. My answer is this: practice. That's what the Buddha said, and that's what monks that I consider my teachers say, and that's what makes sense to me. Practice. Practice. And when I talk about the practice, when we talk about in Buddhism or the practice or Dhamma practice, we're talking about not just meditation, We're talking about the full breadth of what it means to practice Dhamma. We're talking about generosity or dana. We're talking about morality or virtue, sila. Then we're talking about samadhi, panya, which is the meditation part. So there's various parts of this practice that we do that helps to create a better life for yourself and a better world for those around you. And this is something that it's not something that is pie in the sky made up. This is something that as you do it, you see that it works with your own experience. You see that not only does your life change for the better, but also the people around you as well. The Buddha talked about the gifts, the greatest gifts that you can give other people in the world. And one of the greatest gifts, and Ajahn Chah also said this, I think as a summation to what the Buddha said. The Ajahn Chah's quote is, "The greatest gift you can give humanity is a calm mind." The Buddha talked about the 5 faultless gifts. That is the 5 precepts, right? If everybody followed the 5 precepts, what a world this would be. 5 precepts of refraining from harming other beings, refraining from taking what is not given, refraining from sensual misconduct, refraining from taking the training rule to refrain from speaking skillfully. And what I mean by speaking skillfully is obviously not lying, not speaking harshly, harmfully, skillful speech. And the 5th being not taking intoxicants or medications or drugs that cause heedlessness. I shouldn't say medications, because medicine is not part of that. So the Buddha said, if you follow these 5 things, you give a gift to the world. And in other places he talked about the gift of fearlessness. You give a gift of fearlessness, and when you give that gift, you also take part in that gift. When you give metta, you are also giving fearlessness, because beings know that they may have a whole world to fear. There are people out there who are mired in unskillful living, and unfortunately they will perform unskillful acts that harm others. But they know that you will not harm them. They know that you will not lie to them. They know that you will not steal from them. You will not do anything that is unskillful that would hurt them. And that is called what the gift of fearlessness is. That's the gift of fearlessness, as the Buddha taught. You cannot, even if you have, I'm not a parent, but say even if you are a parent, you cannot give your child a perfect world. You can try to. You can try to give your child a better world, which is, I think, a little bit more of a doable thing. But even that's a tough thing. How it stops your fear. It's weird. And it's partly faith, but I'll say one thing. I have trust in the Dhamma. And what I mean by that is, I have seen through my own experience that my practice and my giving metta and how I not only just act physically but also mentally, that this changes how people act around me. Not only just people, animals, children. People will, it's weird. The phrase is Dhamma protects, right? And it's hard to explain. It really is. And the Buddha taught about this, about how when you practice the Dhamma, you are safe. And it's not... Why is a good question. Why? I don't know. I don't think that I can say that I know why. I just know that in my own experience, in my own practice, that it is the way it is. And I think it has to do a lot with karma. I think it has a lot to do with, well, cause and effect. And it's not something that I don't suggest people to have total faith in something like this. I think it's something that you see as you practice. Faith in Buddhism, nothing in Buddhism requires blind faith, or even asks blind faith. And if something does, then it's not exactly Buddhism. It has to be experienced. Exactly. It's hard for me to put into words yet how to explain something like that, because it's something, in all honesty, that's not fully clear to me. So I can't make it clear to somebody else if it's not clear to me just yet. But I see that in situations where how people react to me compared to reacting to other people is completely different. And people, I think it's how people get a vibe off of you. I think it's how you react, how you present yourself to people. A calm person, a mindful person who's able to, when you are able to project this aura of peace, things go better for you. Things work out better. And I think going back to just kind of how it started for me, and I think this is a little bit more explainable and a little bit more understandable. When I first started my Buddhist practice, and this is not necessarily Buddhist, but or at least not the way I went about it, but I came up with what I call the positive thought mantra. And I didn't think of it as a mantra then. It's not necessarily a mantra now, but it's something that I always repeated every day. And it helped me put my mindset into thinking positive. And it kind of changes. It's changed over the years, but I'll say the basics of the basic of how I remember it. And I would say this every day as I wake up, and I still say it every once in a while when I feel mired in negativity over long periods of time. We're talking about 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks. I fall back to saying this. And it goes something like this. Today will be a good day. Tomorrow will be a good day. This week will be a good week. This month will be a good month. I know this because I have seen with my own experience the power of positive thought and keeping a positive mindset. No matter what causes and conditions occur in my life, whether I perceive them to be positive or negative, as long as I deal with these situations with positive thought and positive mindset, I will create a more beneficial life for myself and others. I know this because I have seen it through my own experience, and I know it to be true. And I say that every day. And the more I said it, the more I lived it, the more I believed it. And the more, even when bad stuff happened, I noticed that it worked out a lot better than it would have in the past. So this is what I mean by experiencing. You see it through your own practice. It's hard to use concepts. Words are concepts, right? It's hard to put an experience into conceptual knowledge to give to somebody else. It's hard to do that unless you really, really know that experience. But this is what the practice does. This is what you can expect. The more you practice, the more consistent you practice. And again, it's not just the meditation. It's the generosity, the giving. It's the working on living the precepts, living a skillful life, and meditation. Those all go together, and they all improve with each other. The more you meditate, the more you see things as they truly are, the more skillfully you live your life. The more skillfully you live your life, the easier it is to gain concentration and to meditate. So it's all connected. And the deeper you get into it, and I'm not saying I'm very deep. I'm no meditation master at all. I will never claim to be. Even if I become a meditation master, I doubt I'd claim to be it. But I'm definitely far from anything close to that. But even just as far as I've gotten, I've developed a strong confidence in this practice and the power of this practice. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be what they call a stream enterer, somebody who has advanced in the practice so that they only have 7 more lives left before enlightenment. This is somebody who has removed all doubt, who has seen past the self, who has seen past rites and rituals. I can't even imagine what it must be like to live like that. But I have glimpses of it in what I can see through my own experience and what I've worked on the practice so far. And it's amazing, and it's an amazing, amazing thing. So far to the point where for me, I feel that the best thing for me to do in life is actually to renounce. And those of you who come here often, who've heard me talk quite often, you know that I am currently on the path towards becoming a monk. The plan is by this time next year to be entering into Bhavana Society, which is a forest monastery in West Virginia, as a resident with intent to renounce. And you don't become a monk for 2 years. I mean, it's not something you just go and you get a robe and you're done. It's something that takes a lot of practice, and something that you learn, and something that you have to find out if it's truly for you. And I don't know 100% yet if it's truly for me or not, but I feel my life is leading me to that point, and I feel that it's the only thing worth it for me, which most people would never understand, and that's not something that they need to understand. For me, it makes perfect sense. And the practice has become, to me, practicing Dhamma is probably the most important thing in my life. The only thing that would come close to importance or equal importance is my family. That's it. Not a good job or a good social life. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't care for girlfriends these days because of money and time and all other kinds of issues and dealing with other people. But But see, I'm half a monk already, right? But so all of these other things that people strive for, I don't see a point in. I see dissatisfaction in them. And of course, a lot of that has to do with your life experience, right? I mean, some of you know that I was married in the past. I was married, and my wife passed away 7 years ago. It's going to be 8 years now. 8 years in November. Well, yeah, next November it'll be 8 years. But so I've experienced what it's like to be married. I've experienced what it's like to lose somebody. And that's not necessarily, some people would say that, oh, that's jaded you. That's why you never want to get married again. And no, that's really not it. It's something that I've explored in myself, because I think to myself, is that the reason? And I analyze myself, and I think to myself, you know what? I was never a big fan of marriage before I got married. So I'm definitely not in any rush to ever do it again. Now, all things are impermanent, right? I have a plan currently to become a monk. In 2 years, I could be a monk. I could be dead. I could be married. I could be it could be the post-apocalyptic world. I could be a wandering swordsman. Who the heck knows? Who knows what I could be in 2 years? So, while planning is a good thing, it's not the best to stay too far in the future either. The best thing to do, no matter what in life, is to be in the present moment. And when you start to be in the present, and your mind starts to calm, and your mind starts to get clear, and your thoughts, your monkey mind stops, you come to realize, like, this is where it's at. There's nothing in life that has given this much happiness and amazement than this peace. And this is not even deep peace. I can't imagine what deep peace would be. But the peace I've experienced enough already has changed my life to the point where there's no going back. Even if I don't become a monk, I can't imagine myself not meditating for the rest of my life. Not being calm when everybody else is emotional and going nuts, running around like chickens with their heads off. And in my job, we do that quite often. I do child protective services. So, and I have for 6.5 years. A job that keeps you out late, and you never know. You go into work that day, you never know if you're leaving at 5 or not. You might leave at 5, you might leave at 10. Who knows? So, being a calm, peaceful person is the best thing for you, but it's also the best thing for everybody else. That's part of changing the world around you. And of course, there's also the Dhamma, which is the generosity, the giving. And we're not talking about just giving food, but we're talking about giving our time, right? We're talking about volunteering. We're talking about helping other people. We're talking about doing what we can to affect that little amount of change that we can affect in our lives and the lives of others around us. So, when you hear stuff like, there will always be suffering, there will always be death, there will always be attacks, there will always be war, don't let that get you down. Like it's something like, oh, I can't ever change it. No, it's true. I mean, reality is reality. It is what it is. When you realize when you see something true for what it is, you accept it. So you accept this is what life with beings mired with greed, hatred, and delusion is about. This is what happens. And you think to yourself, I want to move past that. I want to find a way to get past that. For myself and for others. You know, I enjoy and I love Dhamma. I love practicing. But you know what I also love doing? Helping others. It's also one of the biggest reasons why I want to become a monk. Because I feel like I can help people like me who are searching, who see a little bit beyond this veneer of life and are searching for something past that. Somebody like me who was lost for a long time and was looking for something, but they never quite found. They were looking for something that fit them, and then I found it. Theravada Buddhism, and boom, as a Westerner, something that a philosophy that came from across the sea, right? So I feel like I can help other people do this. I was able to find great monks who, like Venerable Yuta Dhamma, who teaches here, Ajahn Brahm, even to a lesser extent Bhante Ji. I was able to find these monastics who are able to bring Dhamma and help Westerners understand it, right? So this is what I want to do as well, to help Westerners, to help all people. It doesn't matter if they're Westerners or not, but I'm a Westerner. The Buddha talked about teaching the Dhamma in their own culture, in your own language. And I think that's something that I can do. And that's something that I haven't given up on the world. Just because I want to become a monk and live in the forest, that doesn't mean I've given up on helping beings, helping others. But just like the Buddha talked about, there are beings with little dust in their eyes. The Buddha, when he became enlightened, he thought, nobody's going to get this. I'm just going to chill in the woods and, live a nice peaceful life and whatever. But then there's different stories. One story, the deity came down, or another story, he used his wisdom, his super knowledge to look at the minds of beings. Or he could have just realized, hey, you know what? It goes, there are beings with little dust in their eyes who would be lost for not hearing the Dhamma. And there are beings with little dust in their eyes who can understand, who can progress. But there are also beings with lots of dust in their eyes, and they're just not ready. They might not be ready this lifetime or 100 lifetimes. They have to work on their own path, however it goes. Doing my job, Child Protective Services, for 6.5 years, dealing with people who are with severe mental illness, with severe drug issues, you come to realize that even through this job, this job has helped my Dhamma practice as well, because it just teaches you about life. You cannot change a person. You can only be a role model to help them see what change is like. Or 2, guide them, sort of like the wind pushing a sail. Just try to push them, guide them in the little directions. Now, you're not moving the boat. You're just trying to change the winds a little bit and push and help them steer themselves in the right direction. That's the only way it works. Only way it works. I've had cases where parents they just never got it. They were never able to change in time for that they died, or they lost their kids forever. The kids were adopted out. And I've also had parents who changed their life and they put it all on me, like I did something for them. And I said, no. I barely did anything. You are the one that changed. But see, sometimes even people when they change and they're doing great, they don't realize that they were the ones that did it. Yeah, there are people in their lives, people in our lives, all of our lives, who have great impact on how we move, how we live our lives. But there's nobody to blame or to praise other than yourself. You are the ultimate. What is the five remembrances, right? You are the owner of your actions. Nobody else. No matter what this society today tells you about how you're not responsible for something, there's always a victim, and there's always somebody else to blame. This society is a little wackadoodle today, but this is the way it's always been, right? Society's always because we're mired in greed, hatred, and delusion. But the Buddha says, no. You are the one who is the owner of your actions. Nobody else. Nobody else. And the Buddha even said, I can't even give you enlightenment. I can't push you to enlightenment. I can only point the way. You have to do it yourself. Even the Buddha, 2,600 years ago, he's saying, listen, I can't do it for you. So if the Buddha can't do it for us, what can we do for other people? We can only hope to point the way. We can only be there for when they fall, to help others. But we should never expect anything out of what we do for others. And I don't mean like a thank you or anything like that. When we help others, that's fine. So a good example of that is helping the homeless, right? How many examples do we hear of, homeless people, they're asking for money. People will say, they go, instead of giving them money, they go and give them a sandwich, and the homeless person throws the sandwich in the garbage or something like that, right? Some people get mad at that. They get angry. Blah, blah, blah. That person, I did this for them, blah, blah, blah. What they did with it doesn't diminish what you did at all. But we feel like it does, right? I did this, and this is how they treat me. This is how they blah, blah, blah. Or you let somebody in while you're driving, and they don't give you the wave. I let this person in, and they didn't wave. What they do is their own karma, What you do, regardless of what they do, is important, is the importance. Because you are the owner of that action. You're not the owner of what they did in relation to that action. You're just the owner of your own action. So, wrapping this all up, because we're over time, being the owner of your own actions and performing skillful actions of body, thought, body, speech, and mind is how you change the world. That's how you change it. Because mind creates world. And you won't be able to change everybody else's world, but you'll be able to change your world. And by doing so, you can be an example for others. And you can affect others in ways that you'll never know. You won't be able to steer the ship, But how you live, how you act, can be the wind for others. They can see that. They can get that example. And when they're ready to change, only when they're ready to change, they can change. So, I think we went over a couple. We went to a couple different places tonight, but I think they're all connected to what is the goal and what can we do when we feel like we're hopeless or we feel like something has to be done. So, I guess unless we have any final comments or questions, we can end for tonight. This was a long yammering on. Normally I yammer on for about half hour, and then there's a discussion and questions. But this time it was an hour long yammer on. Every once in a while. Okay, friends. Well, we'll end here. So until next time, friends. Much metta to you all. Suki Hantu. May you be happy.